Hey guys, welcome to the MagFed Ranch Paintball channel, and today I'm going to be doing a versus video. But before I get into it guys, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, share, and comment. Alright guys, today's versus video is going to be accuracy versus precision. And what does those two things mean when it comes to our first strike shooting, okay, very specifically, first strike shooting MagFed markers, okay guys? So first off, I have a couple obviously examples here. We got our MR18 Mod 1 marker with a red dot, the Bushnell TRS-25. And then we have our SDMR marker clone here with the OptiSpeed crossbow scope, right? The True Glow OptiSpeed crossbow scope. And how these systems differ, of course, is in terms of their barrel lengths, their optics that they're using, magnification versus non-magnification, and how that's going to affect, of course, the accuracy and the precision of each marker with the first strike rounds. Now, real quick, let's define the terms first, okay? So let's start with accuracy. So I have some targets here that I've shot of certain markers with at 20 yards for different group sizes to show you guys. But in terms of accuracy, when we talk about accuracy, we're talking about, will the projectile hit where you're aiming, right? So if you're aiming, for the bullseye and it hits over here, well, that's because it's not as accurate, right? It's not that accurate. Okay, so that's what accuracy is. Is the projectile hitting where you're actually aiming? And of course, there's going to be a lot of factors, not just the marker, right, that will affect the accuracy. It could be the round itself, the first strike round itself. It could be your optic, right? Is it zeroed properly? It could be the user, right? The actual shooter, right? Your trigger press. Are you holding the marker stable? Do you have a stable platform? Okay, so all those things are going to lead to accuracy, whether it's good or not, okay? And in terms of precision, when we talk about precision, that in essence is the repeatability, right? So, is the rounds hitting the same spot from shot to shot? So, for example, you can see here, I had a really nice 4-shot group right here, where it literally just all hit within a 1 to 1.5 inch group area, right? And then, unfortunately, I also had a flyer out of the 5 shots that I shot. There was a flyer right here, and so as you can see, the marker was fairly accurate. It hit fairly close to where I was aiming, which was the bullseye. Now, granted, once again, that could have been me. Maybe I pulled the shot, but whatever. But fairly accurate. But as you can see as well, too, the precision was pretty gosh darn good. Using the first strike rounds, because 4 out of the 5 shots pretty much went into one big hole there. And this was at 20 yards, okay guys? And so I'll show you guys another one. This was with our MR18, by the way. This was with this marker. This was another target with the same marker. You'll notice that I hit one bullseye. A few more went through the same hole. And then I had another flyer right here, but once again, about a 2 to 2.5 inch group. This was with our Mark 12 marker. And once again, you can see how fairly accurate. I was aiming for the bullseye and it hit. Most of the rounds went through this one. And then I had a 1 flyer over here. So about a 1.5 to 2 inch group as well. Again, at 20 yards. Another grouping here for you guys. So once again, hit the bullseye very close. Looks like 2 out of 3 rounds. And then I had another couple flyers right here, but once again, a 2.5 inch group on that one. This was with our SASM marker, and once again, very accurate at 20 yards, but had 1 flyer over here. So for about a 2.5 inch group as well. Another one with the MR110. This was with our backup iron sights, not with the optic. but it looks like all 5 shots went into this one group right here. So this target right here, I wanted to show you guys because, as you can see, the accuracy versus precision, in essence, metric, right? So in this grouping, using the backup iron sights on the M110 marker, the accuracy wasn't that great. I probably didn't have the marker zeroed in properly yet with the backup iron sights, but you'll notice that its precision was really good. It had all 5 of its shots went into this little one area. And my notes say here that it was pretty much a 1.5 inch group with those 5 shots. So the precision is really good with that marker. Let me see here. Okay, so those were all MR 110s. But yeah, guys, really good groups precision-wise. Okay, so let's talk about accuracy first and how accurate are the first strike rounds. I think that's something that everybody wants to know out there. And I'll give you guys what I've been able to glean from the thousands of rounds that I've shot through these marker guys, whether that was with the T15 or the M17. You know, that's the extensive markers in terms of knowledge I have with these 2 platforms. I mean, I've shot probably close to 10,000 rounds or more at this point, you know, combined through both of these markers. And what I will say is that with the right setup, with rifled barrels, and of course with the optic dialed in, and of course, you know, the end user obviously trying to be as stable as possible, and you know, and having a good trigger press and not pulling the marker at all. And this is the other thing too. A lot of things that most people don't consider into is the first strike round themselves being consistent. So I told you guys in past videos that the first strike rounds out of a case of 600 is very inconsistent. You know, 100 rounds out of that 600 is already kind of out of specifications, for lack of better words. And then the remaining 500 rounds, it's, you know, inconsistent in terms of weight, size, you know, if there's broken shells, if there's, you know, just errors like that with the rounds themselves. Doesn't mean that those rounds are not usable, and it doesn't mean that those rounds are way, you know, less accurate than round ball. You know, by far, you know, by no means that is the case. First strike rounds, even, you know, defective ones, are way more accurate than the round balls, right? Normal paintballs. But when you're trying to get good accuracy, and of course leading to good precision later, you want those rounds as consistent as possible. So with quote-unquote match grade FSRs, the accuracy is very good at 20 yards and in, right? You guys have seen some of my accuracy videos, some of my zeroing videos where I'm literally getting 2-inch groups on average at 20 yards, right? And that's how, and I'm aiming, it's hitting exactly where I'm aiming on the target, right? And so it's very accurate at 20 yards and in. And then the video where I shot it at 10 yards, I was zeroing in the UTG 4x magnification scope. You'll notice that the 10-yard groups, they were literally stacked on top of each other at 10 yards. So accuracy-wise, at 20 yards and in, the first strike rounds out of a rifled barrel, you know, dialed in marker is very accurate. The problem is, as you start increasing the distances from 30, 40, 50, and of course continuing on, that's where we run into an issue. And I think the primary reason is because 2 reasons. One, the first strike round travels in an arc as it fires. Anybody that's fired first strike rounds a lot, like I have, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, it kind of follows like a right to left trajectory, right? It comes out of the barrel just ever so slightly shooting to the right. Now at 20 yards or in, you don't notice it that much, but as it starts increasing a little bit more, it'll start kind of hooking ever so slightly to the right. Not as significantly as it hooks to the left. But as the distances increase, that hook will start hooking left. And so the problem is not that the round can be accurate, it's just that your zero, your hold, is not going to coincide with the trajectory of the first strike round, right? The travel arc of the first strike rounds. So, for example, at the 60 and above ranges, you'll have to aim your reticle or your red dot, right? Whether that's the reticle from the crossbow scope or your red dot, you're gonna have to aim slightly to the right. It's almost kind of like you have to adjust for windage, even though it's not really wind that's affecting your shot. It's just kind of the trajectory arc of the first strike rounds. And you know, at 60 yards, it might be just maybe an inch or two to the right. But then at 80 yards or beyond, it might be, you know, like almost half of a man-sized target, right? So instead of, you know, 19-inch target and you're aiming dead center, you're literally aiming to, I'm sorry, well in this particular case, you're aiming to the right of the target, like half of the target over, and then it'll hit center, right? So, like I said, unfortunately, it's not that the round is accurate, or I'm sorry, inaccurate, it's just that it doesn't follow the actual sight picture of your optic at those further distances. Okay, so that's kind of why I am pushing so much for hopefully someone to come out there, you know, besides the Combatech Supremacy scope, of course. I'm hoping someone will come out there with another optic, another scope as well that is designed specifically for our first strike rounds. Okay? But like I said, it's still accurate. It's just, like I said, the accuracy decreases because of that factor. Okay, guys? The fact that that trajectory, the arc at which it travels, it's not like a straight bullet, right? It's not like a real bullet where, unfortunately, even though a real bullet does have a curvature and it does have an arc, at those close distances, a real bullet is traveling so fast, and of course has such a good, you know, I forgot what the term is called, but in essence it has such good ballistics that there's not much of a difference at, you know, 100 yards and in. Okay, so you can get like, you know, sub MOA groups at 100 yards and in with a real rifle, you know, if it's match grade quality. Okay, unfortunately the first strike isn't as accurate as that. Okay, the next thing is, of course, that we're going to talk about is precision, and this is the one thing I will say is really good about the first strike rounds, especially match grade first strike rounds out of our rifle barrel markers, is that the precision is actually very consistent. So even if the accuracy is not as as accurate at the longer distances, the precision is still there. So you guys would notice that if you guys go watch my test videos, at the further distances, you'll notice that the group sizes don't dramatically increase, right? So whereas we might get a 2-inch group at 20 yards, and then at 40 yards, we might get like a 5 or 6-inch group, you know, as the distances go to 60 yards or 80 yards, you'll notice that some of the longer barrel markers, like the 16-inch and above barrel markers, you'll notice that some of them are still capable of 6-inch or 8-inch groups, even at 80 yards, right? And sometimes, you know, with the right rounds, combination of everything going right, you can get sub 6-inch groups at 80 yards with the longer barrels. You know, shoot, even the 80-yard video that we shot with this marker, we had a 6-inch group out of this marker. So you'll just notice that the precision, you know, so the kind of the consistency of the group size is staying the same even at the further distances. So that's one thing I'm so very happy to report to you guys, that the precision is there with our MagFed markers, as long as you got rifle barrels, as long as your optic is zeroed, whether that's a red dot or a crossbow scope that you're using, right, and you've zeroed it properly at 20 yards. And then, of course, as long as you're using match grade ammo, guys, that's the key. It's just getting consistent ammo, and so that way, you know, you're not getting different flight patterns with the different ammo inconsistencies. And then, of course, doing your part, right? Having a stable platform and having, you know, holding the marker steady, and then, of course, you know, having a consistent, smooth trigger press. the precision is there. Okay, guys. So, hey, guys, that's the difference between accuracy and precision. And like I said, I'm happy to report that they're both very good, with the first strike rounds and with our mag gun markers. But it's just that the accuracy is not as precise, 1-to-1 at the longer distances. Okay, guys. Hey, if you guys like that video, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button. Check you guys next time. Peace.